Okay. So hi everyone. My name is Angelica. I'm a junior and the program lead for the EcoReps program.
And I'm Emily, and I'm a senior and the food team lead.
And thank you for coming to the Sustainability Alumni Career Panel. It's hosted by the UVM Office of Sustainability and the Career Center. So today we are so excited to have 3 alum joining us today that participated in the EcoReps program during their undergrad here at UVM. And first, we'd like to open the floor to the Career Center so they could talk a little bit about themselves. I don't know if they're...
Hi, I can start. Oh,
yeah.
You go first.
Okay, great. Hi, thank you. I'm Felisa. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a senior peer leader with the Career Center.
And my name is Kate, and I also use she, her pronouns, and I'm a peer leader with the Career Center.
So thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. We're just going to do a small debrief of what the Career Center is and what our interest group is. So what is a Career Center? Basically, we help students with anything having to do with professional development. We help create and edit resumes, cover letters. We help with interview advice. Basically, anything you can think of, we can assist you with it. We have drop-ins for students Monday through Thursday, 10 to 2 p.m. for anyone to come in and get help with career advice, internship advice, finding jobs, etc. And you don't have to be a senior to come in to start thinking about your career. You can be anywhere within your professional development journey. And you can be on square one, and we'll just help you build up from there. So we have 6 interest groups that can help you find a community of people who are interested in doing the same things as you. They're arts and creativity, education policy and social impact, food, environment and sustainability, STEM, health professionals, and exploring. So they're not grouped in by major. You can be any major and join any of these interest groups. And basically what they are is they're a community on the Handshake platform and the UVM Connect platform. And basically, they're a community of students looking to do similar work in career industries. And we send out newsletters with job opportunities and internship opportunities on UVM Connect that have to do with all of these. And if you're interested in joining one or multiple, you can go on Handshake and join any of them. And they're really helpful in sort of dipping your toe into what's possible as a career. We also feature events that have to do with each one in the newsletters on UVM Connect. And I'll hand it over to Kate now.
Great. So Felisa kind of got us started talking about this, but we are from the FES interest group, which is Food, Environment, and Sustainability, which fits right along with the EcoReps and which you all do. So we help curate and support events relating to FES content, FES related activities on campus, and then we can support in your networking with any food, environment, sustainability related things, whether that's with alumni, other students, or other like general broader things. And yeah, UVM Connect is really like the place to do that. It's a nice hub for everything. And that's where you can like stay most up to date with everything. And then most excitingly, we have Earth Week coming up somewhat soon. And we're gonna be having an event then called Growing Your Network. And we're gonna be talking about networking within the food, environment, and sustainability interest group. So stay on the lookout for more information on that, but that'll be towards the end of Earth Week in April. I think Felisa will share in the chat some events that we have coming up that aren't necessarily specific FES related things, but things that can help you along your career journey nonetheless. So I'll let her put those in the chat, but I'll start talking about them. Tomorrow we have our Vermont Virtual Job Fair, which you can sign up through Handshake. And if you just go to Handshake, everybody has an account and click events. It'll be like the first event that's there. And this is it's not just UVM specific, it's employers all across Vermont who are hiring a bunch of people, and definitely a range of industries. So if you're not quite sure what you're interested in doing, you can see what's out there in the state of Vermont. Even if you live elsewhere, it's nice to just see what kind of things are exist on a state level. It's not just state level things, but a range of things. Yeah. So that's tomorrow's job fair. It's all virtual, so go check out more of the details about that on Handshake. Super low stakes, super easy. You can do it from the comfort of your room. So I highly recommend that. On March 7th, we have Wes Woodson coming, and he is coming to speak about mental health in the career journey. He's talking about imposter syndrome slash phenomenon, and how mental health can impact your journey. He is a great speaker. He goes all across the country talking about these things. I think it's gonna be a really great event. There's gonna be pizza, and that's on March 7th. So you can also register for that event on Handshake. Highly recommend. And then lastly, we have our spring job fair, UVM spring career fair on March 8th. And that'll be a lot of employers up in the Grand Maple Ballroom, I think. And you can have like one-on-one chats with employers who you might be interested in doing. If you didn't come to our fall one, this is a great opportunity, even if you're a freshman, a sophomore, any stage of your career journey, to just see what's out there. I know I was kind of overwhelmed when I went to my first one, but they're pretty cool just to see everything. You don't have to talk to anybody if you don't want to, but you can pick up cool merch at the tables and just get a sense of what direction you might want to take your interests in. So that's about it. I think if you head to the chat, things will be there. I was having some tech difficulty, so I'll try and put them in chat, Felicia, as well. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us or stop by the Career Center. But that's about it. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Yeah, make sure to check out the Career Center. They have amazing resources and a lot going on. So it looks like we have some people who aren't eco reps joining us tonight. So in case that you don't really know what eco reps are, eco reps program is a group of students, and we have one representative of each res hall who work to increase awareness of existing sustainability initiatives on campus through peer-to-peer education. And we always have a lot of events going on, and we'll be at Earth Week, which the Career Center just briefly mentioned. So make sure to tune in to all the events we have going on. And so with that, we can get started. So if each panelist can give a short introduction that includes their name, pronouns, graduation year, major, history with EcoReps, the current job, and other major stepping stones along the way. So we could start with Mackenzie.
Sure. Hi, I'm Mackenzie, she, her pronouns. I graduated from UVM in 2021, and my major was natural resource planning in the Rubenstein School, which I think got dissolved into something else now. And I focused a lot of my studies on community and international development. I currently am living in Philadelphia, where I am a policy coordinator with the Leonard Davis Institute of Health Economics at the University of Pennsylvania. LDI does a lot of research and supports a huge network of fellows doing health policy research and health equity research in Philadelphia and across the country. And yeah, it's really great to be here with you all.
Awesome. Next, we could have Zach speak.
Hey everyone, my name is Zach. I use he, him pronouns. I am located in Philadelphia and work for B-Lab. I was involved in EcoReps for my sophomore and junior year And were there any other questions? Am I forgetting anything? No? Okay, cool.
And then Isabel.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Cool. It's so cool to see all of your faces. And also Zach and Mackenzie, super interesting to like hear about what you're doing. So I went to the University of Vermont from 2016, graduated in 2020 during the pandemic. An interesting year. And I was an eco rep, I think, I don't remember, 3 years, 4 years. I honestly don't remember. And Caitlin, it's so good to see you too. Yeah, and at UVM, I majored in environmental studies. And after I graduated, I was honestly pretty lost. And it's really cool hearing, stories from the Career Center. And I really do encourage y'all to take advantage of that because I felt like I didn't really have a lot of guidance from UVM in terms of like what I was going to do when I graduated. And so I ended up I knew I wanted to move out west, just to like explore a totally new area. And so I found out about AmeriCorps through my mom, actually, because, we were in a pandemic and all of the jobs that I had been interested in were not being offered. So my mom said, I really think you should check out AmeriCorps. I think you'd really like it. And I was like, oh no, like I want to get paid for the work that I'm doing. I don't want to just do service. She's like, just check it out. And I'm so glad that I did. And I ended up getting a position as an outdoor educator and environmental science teacher with Alpine Achievers. And so I moved to the San Luis Valley, which is southern Colorado. And yeah, I was working as a teacher in a very, very tiny school, essentially doing everything from, lesson planning to teaching kids how to ski to driving the bus to also being the lunch lady. It was one of the hardest jobs I've ever had in my life, and also, one of the most rewarding. I had to write my own grants. I learned a lot, and yeah, and AmeriCorps, attracts a lot of service-minded people. So just like met some really cool people my age that were also out down in the San Luis Valley working. And I ended up doing a year of AmeriCorps and then staying for another year to continue to teach. So I was like hired on by the school. And after that, I started working for the San Luis Valley Ecosystem Council, which I'm still doing now, part-time. And I was hired as their communications manager. So I started writing, blog posts, newsletters, social media, all the things that eco reps also kind of do. And yeah, and I love it. And I actually am working on right now. We're learning about solar transmission in the San Luis Valley, and trying to think about putting solar panels on farms. And so I got to interview Senator Cleve Simpson, who's a Colorado state senator, for the article, which was really cool. And yeah, so anyway, so after the Ecosystem Council, which I'm still part-time doing, I wanted a little bit of a change from the San Luis Valley. It's a very rural, poor place, one of the poorest places in the United States. So I decided to go to graduate school. And so I'm currently in graduate school, and I am at CU Boulder, and I'm in the Masters of the Environment program studying sustainability and resilience planning. So, thinking about as Colorado becomes drier and gets more fires, like how do you plan communities around that? And it's really interesting to be here, and I love this program. I love the people. I actually just went backcountry skiing this morning. I'm literally in my snow pants right now. Yeah, it's great. Colorado's great. 10 out of 10 would recommend. If anyone wants to move here, hit me up. So nice to meet you all. And that's my story.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for coming out to talk to us tonight. We're so excited to have three of you guys here. And with that, we can start jumping into our questions. And if anyone in the audience has a question that comes up throughout the panel, feel free to type it in the chat and we can get to all those questions at the end. So starting off with our first question, we were wondering, how did you get your current job? And can you speak on what your typical day looks like? Yep, Zach.
Yeah, so I spent 3 years before my current job with a company called TerraCycle. I don't know if any of you are familiar with them, but their general idea is that they work with companies to develop recycling solutions for waste that typically would not be able to be recycled. So I worked in sales there. I didn't have any background in being a salesperson or anything like that, but it was a sustainability minded company and it seemed like up my alley after graduating from an environmental science program. So spent 3 years there and then decided I didn't like sales that much, really just disliked it quite a bit. And I made the transition over to B Lab, which does the B Corp certification. I brought a little prop. It's this symbol that you might see on packages every now and then. Yeah, so I've been here for about 2.5 years. And my day-to-day consists of working with companies that have applied for B Corp certification or that already are B Corps, and helping them to verify the information that they provide to us to basically showcase whether or not they are acting as good corporate citizens, and whether they should get or maintain their B Corp cert.
So during my undergrad, I was getting involved with different types of political advocacy. So working on issue-based campaigns and also with political candidates doing climate policy work. And if anyone's involved in political organizing, you know that's a very cyclical job. So I found myself with a pretty wide network of folks and no position. And so after school, I kind of connected with colleagues and folks that I've made connections with along the way and got a position working in municipal government in the city of Burlington in the Community and Economic Development Office, where I was working to support multilingual election campaigns, alongside different workforce development programs and like physical development projects. And it was really amazing position and I had a great time there. And eventually I felt like I was needing a really big change. So a lot of my friends were leaving Burlington and I thought it would be a good time to try something out. I decided to move to Philadelphia a little bit on a whim. I don't really know that many people here, but I was looking at positions at universities to eventually go back to school and use their tuition benefits. So I stumbled upon this position pretty just by luck on their website, and it's been great. I've been here a month so far, and I would say my typical day-to-day looks a little bit different every day, but mainly I am getting pieces of academic research by fellows at the University of Pennsylvania, and I am digesting them and making communication strategies to get out the policy implications to different audiences, which is awesome. So I spend a lot of time writing and editing and getting in contact with people who can put their work into action.
Yeah, so for me, it's such an interesting question because I think the reason why I, got the position of communications manager in the San Luis Valley was because I had really lived there for a year first and got to know the community, got to know the people there, and I know people are always saying network, it's who you know, like that's how you get a job, but like it's so true and it's so helpful to really understand, especially if you're going into like, I want to be a sustainability coordinator for a town or a city. If you're going into that route, it's really important to understand the people and the culture of a place. So I think that is why I was hired originally, was because I had already lived there for a year, you know, teaching and working with kids and getting to know the community in a different way. And then day to day, I shared a little bit about, you know, writing articles and newsletters and all that stuff, all that fun stuff. I love writing. That's always been something that, you know, I've really been good at. But also, I think a lot of people who are, a lot of eager ups are probably really good writers. And I would really encourage all of you to like sell that skill, you know, to future employers, because a lot of people are looking for good writers who know how to communicate science information to the public. And there's not a lot of people out there who know how to actually do that. And I think eGroups does a really cool job, like getting you to think about, yeah, how do you communicate information to the public? So that's been really helpful, actually, like the eGroups part of my life in terms of this job, which is cool. And then day to day, also, yeah, I'm helping to work on the conservation and recreation plan for the San Luis Valley. So it's, you know, a committee of stakeholders, including agricultural workers and people from the outdoor industry, people from the Hispanic community, things like that. And we're trying to figure out a way to like, how do we create new trails in the valley, bring in more money, bring in more tourism, but also protect the elk and the sandhill cranes and the wildlife, you know, that depend on that habitat, and how do we create that plan. So that's been really cool, actually, to work on the kind of planning side of things. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, I was in the store and I saw like a B Corp logo and I was thinking about this panel and I was like, cool. And then yeah, thanks for sharing the college, working at a college tip. Like it's really interesting and it's nice to hear that you're kind of working with communities too, Isabel. All right, so for the next question, so thinking back on that journey, um, that brought you to where you are now, did you expect to end up at your current job? And if not, what took you in a different direction? And do you think you'll stay at this field? And then, Isabel, I know that you mentioned that you are in your grad school right now. So what kind of made you decide to go back to school for that? So anyone could, yeah.
Yeah, I could speak on that quickly. I really do think that having a master's degree in general, like, does give you a leg up. Like, as sad as it is to pay for a piece of paper and a name, it really does give you a little bit of a leg up in the sustainability field, in the environmental field. And also, I wanted to go back to school to get some more hard skills as well. Like, I have a lot of like leadership, community engagement, teaching skills, but I also wanted to learn, you know, how do you write a scope of work and a proposal and a budget, like just some more like business related things, and then policy as well. How do you actually write a piece of legislation to help change sustainability practices like in a city? So kind of like the higher level stuff, more of like the technical skills. Also, like reporting and metrics, like just using Excel to report sustainability data. A lot of like positions require that, and I don't have that. So I'm trying to learn some of that stuff. Mm-hmm.
I'll provide a bit of a juxtaposition to Isabel's experience. You know, I have only my bachelor's from UVM, so haven't yet gone for like graduate education at this point. And I know Isabel mentioned that a lot of the opportunities that she's gotten has been like from networking and from knowing people within the community. For both of the jobs that I've had, it was really just like throwing applications against the wall and seeing what stuck. For B Lab, I applied 3 times before I ultimately ended up in the position that I'm in. So for this particular job, it was just like real persistence and like really wanting to get here that ended up getting me the job. In terms of like if I'm where I thought I was going to be, my first job at TerraCycle, definitely not. I never saw myself as a salesperson. And after 3 years there, I realized that it really wasn't for me. But the good thing about it was that it gave me a lot of experience and skills that I otherwise wouldn't have had just from like my UVM education. It got me to like develop some people skills and other I don't know, just other like soft skills that were very useful in the job that I currently have. And then my job at B Lab right now is maybe not the final or like the final destination of where I want to be, but it's definitely like closer. It's on that path, and it's something that I really am loving and enjoying. So yeah, I guess like in terms of where if I'm where I see myself being like in 5 years or whatever. Maybe not. There might be like other opportunities that come up in the future, but it's definitely something that I thought I would want to do when I was at UVM.
Yeah, I'll add, I thought that I might be interested in doing policy work and kind of keeping on in the political sphere. I did not intend to be working in health policy, and it's something I'm not very well versed in. That being said, I do think there's a lot of overlap and intersectionality with health policy, that it touches a ton of different aspects of environmental work, but I didn't expect to be exactly here. And along with the graduate school conversation, I'm in the process of applying to school now for the fall. I'm hoping to go back for my degree in environmental studies and urban planning, which is pretty similar to you, Izzy. And I think similarly, I would like to be getting some more hard skills in planning and some more data analytics.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah, I know like grad school isn't for everyone, so it's nice to hear that like, whether you get your master's or not, you'll end up somewhere. So yeah, adding on to thinking about your career journey, can you tell us any internship experiences that helped you decide what to do after college?
I'll go first. I think that this is still offered at UVM. I don't know if any of you in the chat are taking part in this internship this year, but it's the Menomet U360 internship. I think that there's a couple of people that I've connected with like in years past that still do it. But essentially, it's working with small businesses around the United States to understand how they are working more sustainably or really collecting information about their sustainable practices, and then helping them to identify areas where they can increase their sustainable operations. So for me, that was like a really great way to get into the world of like connecting with businesses and talking with business owners and learning some of like the jargon around like sustainable business and corporate responsibility and things like that. And it's definitely something that I would recommend for people who are interested in like the world of business sustainability.
I will put in a plug for the Rubenstein Perennial Internship Program. I did it one summer and worked doing recycling education across Vermont and also doing science communications with the Department of Environmental Conservation. And those two positions were really amazing and really sparked my interest in government work and seeing how the government plays a role in environmental action.
So I did a summer with the Piedmont Environmental Council, and they're based out of Virginia. And they do all sorts of like kind of policy. It's a fellowship program, so you have to apply and get in. and you get like a stipend for the summer. But if it's in person now, then you get to like fly to Virginia, and it's like summer camp, but you're also taking classes and learning from this like really well-run nonprofit organization in Virginia. And I really liked the aspect, like UVM's very liberal, and I super appreciate that. But I think the Piedmont Environmental Council gave me a very different perspective on the environment. Like, how do you talk to people who can't, the word climate change is very triggering to them. So that was like a huge learning experience for me as well. So plug for that. And I guess it depends what you're interested in too. Like for food, I know that the Intervale Farm in Burlington has some really cool food internships. So yeah, and then like if you're interested in outdoor ed, there's so many outdoor ed positions that I could recommend too.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Yeah, so Kaylin put the links for those in the chat if anyone is particularly interested in any of the internship experiences that they mentioned. Okay, so for our next question, so as newly graduated students won't always get the dream job that they want right off the bat. Can you tell us more about how you can bring your personal passions into a job that you aren't really particularly passionate about? Like Zach, I know you mentioned about that sales job that you had, but you never saw yourself as a salesman.
Yeah, for sure. I can respond to that. And I think that I was, even though I didn't like sales and I never saw myself as a salesperson, I was lucky in the fact that like it was working for a sustainability or environmental company. So I guess I would twist your question a little bit and say like maybe you won't get a job that you necessarily like saw yourself in or that you necessarily want to be in as your first job, but maybe you can work for an organization that is interesting to you. So if you can like, because when I was applying for jobs originally, when I first got out of college, I was very focused on becoming like a sustainability manager or something like that. I really was looking for like any job that had like sustainability in it. And I spent probably like 5 or 6 months like applying for jobs like that and not getting like a single call back. And then I branched out a little bit and started applying for other jobs that might not like have sustainability in the title or be like connected directly to sustainability, but that might be with organizations that still aligned with my values and my interests. And that's when I started to get more outreach, more interest, and ultimately landed a job somewhere that, not doing something I initially saw myself doing, but that was still aligned with my personal values. So that's how I would respond to that.
Yeah, I would say that I really agree and resonate with you, Zach. Like it's a journey. Like I'm still on the journey, and also we're different than our parents' generation. It's not like the first job that you have out of college you're gonna have for the rest of your life. And I think that's really important to recognize too. Like I have this position now, but I'm probably not gonna stay in it forever. Like I have a lot of different interests and passions, and I think that's what makes life really exciting, is just to like follow what you're interested in at the time and keep an open mind.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I think that like environmentalism is so broad and it's so intersectional that there's ways to fit it into tons of different types of labor. And I also would just make a plug for getting involved with things like in your community outside of work. I think that is equally or more fulfilling sometimes than just being passionate about work. I think there's definitely lots of opportunity to share your passion both in work and outside.
Yeah, thank you. That was really good advice. I feel like, yeah, we're really focused on like working for money, but then I agree that there's other things that we could do to um satisfy like those values that you have. But yeah. So next question. We have students that are interested in what comes right after college. And so we were wondering how long it took for you to get your first job out of college and any job search strategies that you recommend. And for Izzy, I know you mentioned you talked a bit about AmeriCorps, and we also have a number of eco reps who are interested in the different corps. So if you can also speak onto that as well.
Sure, yeah. So AmeriCorps is a broad term. You know, there's so many different facets within it, but essentially it's like a year of service that you're dedicating to, you know, an organization or community in some way. So my program was called Alpine Achievers and it was under AmeriCorps. But yeah, there's also like Conservation Corps, you know, New Mexico Conservation Corps, Montana Conservation. Like there's so many cool different conservation corps where you do more like trail work. You know, if you want to get your hands dirty, there's Teacher America, which is also really similar, where you're like, you know, in an inner city teaching kids. That one's like probably really challenging. There's also Earth Corps, which is in Washington. Yeah, I remember looking at like a lot of different job boards, and like getting emails. Like that's the thing, like sign up for email lists. That was really helpful for me. Like getting emails into my inbox every week and then just clicking on a job that looked interesting and writing down like, oh, what are the skills do I, you know, that I need? Do I have, you know, all of these? So that was really helpful for me. I can spend a second looking for some of those lists. Yeah, I'm gonna do that actually.
And then Zach, I know you were mentioning too that you spent like a couple of months as well, just looking to apply for places as well.
Yeah, so I graduated UVM in May of 2017, and I got my first job in November 2017. So, and I was applying for jobs like probably during that whole time. And finally, you know, I mentioned this in the previous question, but I was really hyper focused on like those sustainability jobs at first, but started to like branch out a bit and look for other things, just you know, within companies or industries that I was interested in, and that's ultimately what helped me land a job within a within a field that I was interested in at least.
For me, I got my first job that I was really excited about in October after graduation. So it did take a few months, and I was applying kind of sporadically throughout that time and working a job that I wasn't super excited about. And when I think about finding like a new position, I really relied on people that I knew and trusted and asked them for their help or any advice or connections they could help me make. And also, I found it to be the most helpful to kind of research organizations or institutions that I wanted to work for and then continuously just like check in on their job boards. I had a little bit more luck that way than versus like Indeed or another just kind of generic search engine.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think it's definitely sounds like a good tip to like look through the like institutions directly. Um, and then Kaylin also put in the chat an example of a newsletter that's for higher ed sustainability. So if people are interested in that, they could check that out. And then for our next question, so thinking more about the undergraduate internships that helped you get to this point, can you tell us more about how you've talked about eco reps or other on-campus experiences and jobs in job interviews or resumes, cover letters? And if you have, how have you done it? And I know it's been a couple years since you've graduated, Zach. You graduated a couple years before Mackenzie and Izzy. So we're also wondering what experiences have remained relevant or like stuck since graduating.
Yeah, for sure. I still have eco reps on my resume, and the biggest reason is because it's an experience that I had at UVM that allowed me to speak with people about sustainability topics who might otherwise not have had any sort of like training or really any sort of like base in sustainability. A lot of what I do in both the role I have right now and in my previous role is talk with people who you know, might not be sustainability minded or might not have any sort of background in sustainability about sustainability topics. And you've got to like bring it down to earth for people. You've got to make it make sense, make it seem attractive in a way that that appeals to everyone. And I think that's a lot of what you do as an eco rep is talking with people on campus. You know, UVM in general, I think that there's a really big like sustainability mind among the student population, but it's not, you know, it's not everyone that goes there. So when you're in the dining halls and you're, you know, I remember like doing like compost sorts and like encouraging people to like compost their food and things like that. You've got to make that seem attractive to the people on campus who might otherwise just like throw everything into the trash. So just bringing that sort of like experience and knowledge to, you know, trying to sell a recycling program to like a marketing guy or talking with like a small business owner about sustainability topics nowadays is really something that yeah, I always go back to that experience from eco reps.
Yeah, I want to echo what Zach said. EcoReps has been so influential in my career development. And I should have added in my introduction, I was a change agent for 1 year, and then I was a manager for 2 in the EcoReps program. And I think that EcoReps just gave me so many transferable skills so early on in my career that I was really able to build off of them. So when I was applying for jobs right away, being able to tell people that I had some type of management experience and like experience in program development related to environmental and like a really community oriented program, it was a really big game changer for me. And I still think like I'm not sure I would be able to use Outlook if I didn't have that time, like sitting at the table in the office, just figuring it out. So yeah, it really, really helped me. And I still talk about it today.
Shout out to Kaylin in this program. Yeah, I think more and more I'm realizing how grateful I am to have been an ECREP. I think I was a manager as well, the marketing one. I'm kind of forget. But yeah, even just like feedback, like when we had to do feedback with Kaylin, like that was so helpful. And I'm realizing like, wow, a lot of my peers have never done this before. Or thinking about like how to create, you know, an outline for a meeting and a task list where you like cross things off. Like I still use all of those skills that Kaylin, you know, showed us. And yeah, they're real management skills. So wait, did I answer the question correctly? Okay.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Yeah, I feel like we learned so many technical and like people skills through EcoRep, so it's really good to hear that you guys are applying that to your jobs now and like, you know, still using it. So I'd say that's comforting as college students that will have to be entering the real world soon. And so we have our last question, and I know that like Mackenzie and Zach, you guys are in Philly right now, and then Izzy, you're doing your master's in Colorado. So can you give us some advice on how to find jobs outside of the state and how to give us some tips on how to move to a new location and network with people who aren't affiliated with UVM?
Sure. So I'm very new to my move. I've just been in Philly like a month and a half, and um, I mentioned a little bit, but mainly looking at institutions and places that I wanted to work and just kind of routinely checking those job boards. As for advice on like feeling comfortable moving to a new place, I like to think like my best advice is to just be uncomfortable and like being okay with being alone and like willing to put yourself out there and try. It's really quite scary moving to a place without a lot of like community, but keeping an open mind and understanding that there's a lot of people who are doing similar things, and people are always happy to bond, especially over shared interests.
I hope it's not annoying or that I create extra work for Kaylin, but I'll say that Kaylin connected Mackenzie and I when Mackenzie was moving to Philadelphia. So not just specifically Kaylin, but like I've had a lot of people from past internship experiences that have reached out to me and been like, hey, this person is moving to your area or is like getting a job within your industry. Would you like to connect with them and maybe like talk to them about opportunities in your area or things like that. So generally just leaning on people who you've had professional experiences with in the past and asking them if they'd be comfortable like reaching out and making connections for you in new areas.
Sorry, it takes me forever to like turn my mic on and off. For me, I did not feel comfortable moving to Colorado on my own. Like I really wanted some sort of community, and like I feel like the easiest way for me to get that is through being around kids. Like for some reason, that like school experience feels like a really good way to build community with people and teachers, and like they can connect you. And yeah, so for me, and also like this AmeriCorps program, they find housing for you, they give you a car. Like they just offered, and a lot of other AmeriCorps programs do this as well, just offering you that built-in community to kind of, jump off as a launching point was really helpful for me. But that being said, like I think I would have been fine without it. Like I think I can move anywhere and know that like me as a person, I love meeting new people. I'm good at it. I love going to new groups, running clubs and game nights and just like finding like things in the community to try. So yeah, that's my advice is like AmeriCorps is great. A great way to do that, but also like there are so many other, groups in like cities that you can join. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that. And so with 10 minutes left of our time, I'd love to open up the floor to any questions from the audience. If anyone has a question, feel free to type in the chat. These could be directed to a specific panelist or just in general. But if there are no questions, I'd also like to ask, just adding on to the previous question, what made you want to leave Burlington versus how do you know when you want to stay?
I would say for me, I really wanted to stay in Burlington. I found personally for like what I was looking to do, there wasn't a whole lot of like opportunity for jobs in the city. It's a relatively small city with a big academic focus. So if you want to be in like academia, like that's uh, lots of opportunities there, and then some fairly big companies like Burton and Seventh Generation and things like that. But for like just starting out and getting like an entry level job, I personally found that it was difficult to conceive getting a job in the city. And also Philadelphia is close to where I grew up and where my parents are, so it was a easy transition to this area.
Yeah, after school, I was in Burlington for just about 2 years. And in that time, I felt like my community was growing increasingly smaller, kind of like building off what Zach was saying. While I was able to have a job that was sustaining me, a lot of my friends weren't able to have that. And so I felt like as time went on, there was just less people that I knew around, and I was kind of feeling like I was ready for a change. But I love Burlington and I miss it.
Yeah, dude, I love Vermont so much. I actually just went to see Noah Kahn. Does anyone know him? Yes. And yeah, I just felt homesick for Vermont. I would love to move back there one day to raise a family. I think it's a beautiful place, beautiful people. But I wanted to challenge myself and just move out west and do something completely new and different. And like it's interesting because visiting my friends who have stayed in Burlington, I don't know, it's just the same circle and the same world. And I'm really glad that I kind of left and challenged myself a little bit because when I go back, it's going to make it all that, the more meaningful. And who knows if I'll be able to go back. Like I am also realizing like, wow, like where you start building your network does have an impact on your career. And it does feel harder and harder to me to like one day move back there in terms of finding a job because my network is now starting to become, here, my professional network, and community of friends as well. So we'll see. Stay tuned. And also, I just posted that doc of, I just really quickly typed up some ideas that I had for places that I looked when I was searching for jobs. So if anyone's interested in that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm not trying to make anti-Burlington propaganda, but yeah, definitely different opportunities everywhere for everyone. So it's really good to hear that. And thank you for putting that in the chat, Izzy. Um, okay. Doesn't look like we have questions from the audience. So I'll be selfish and ask one more question for myself.
Wait, can I just
Yes.
butt in for a sec?
Yeah.
Do you mind giving people like 1 second to pause and let them
Yeah.
ask a question? Because you didn't give them that much time.
Mhm.
Cool. Come on, you guys gotta have a question for one of us. Zach and Mackenzie are awesome. They've had such cool experiences.
It looks like we have a question from Catherine. She asked, how soon before you graduate do you think you should start looking for jobs?
I think it really depends person to person. I definitely had a couple of friends who had jobs lined up, before they graduated and everything like that. And for them, like that's fantastic. And at the time, I was very jealous of it because I was like, I had been applying for things too at the time, and graduated into like, basically moving back to my parents' house and having to do job search from there. So I think it depends on. And I know this probably isn't a satisfying answer, but it's always going to vary because it's going to depend on what kind of safety net you have like back home and things like that, and how much time you can afford after graduation to continue looking. If you need to have a job like immediately after graduating, then of course like begin applying like as I would say like maybe as soon as 3 months before you start graduating, maybe even 4, because that way you can like start getting better ideas and things like that.
Yeah, if you're graduating, I would start now.
Okay. And then we have another question from Grace. Did any of you guys study abroad?
I didn't study abroad, but I did a multi-week service learning course to Peru in the community development department, which was amazing. I'm not sure if they do it anymore, but it was a really great experience. I took like a semester-long course and then did a research project there.
I studied abroad with EcoQuest in New Zealand. It's an environmental science program, and it was amazing. 10 out of 10 would recommend. Yeah, EcoQuest.
I studied abroad in Denmark with the Danish Institute for Study Abroad. I'm going to drop a link in the chat. It was just a easy way to like it's basically an American university that's over in Denmark in Copenhagen. So it was easy for me to translate like the credits back to UVM and everything like that.
Okay, so it's the end of our scheduled time. So before we close, I just want to make a quick plug that EcoReps starts hiring for positions for next year at the end or after spring break. So if you're interested and you live on campus, keep an eye out for job postings on JobX. But yeah, thank you so much, Mackenzie, Zach, Isabel, for taking the time to spend with taking the time to speak with us this evening. And thank you all for attending. And panelists, if you guys can put your contact info in the chat. So if anyone else has any other questions or want to talk more with you guys about your experiences, it can reach out to you. But yeah, thank you.